My husband and I have a tween son, Eric, and a kindergarten-age daughter, Jess. My husband had an affair with an ex-coworker 8 years ago, and he had a daughter. My husband and I did lots of family counseling, and I forgave him. He has custody over his other daughter some weekends a month. Quite honestly, I don't like the girl. Her mom is poisoning her against my kids and me. If possible, I spend little time with her. My kids also don't like her and don't want to play with her. Yesterday, her mom had an emergency and needed my husband to take care of the girl for a couple of hours, so she dropped her off and left. At some point, Eric wanted to play with his dad. Jess wanted to play as well, so he got a ball and they were going to play with it. My husband's daughter wanted to play too, but Eric didn't want to, and they started arguing. Then the girl told my son he had to play with her because she's his sister. My son told her, "No, you're not. Only Jess is my sister." And the girl started crying. Sometime after, her mom came to pick her up, and she told her what had happened. I don't talk to her at all, so I was making dinner, but could still hear what they were talking about. She told my husband our son needed to apologize. My kids were with me in the kitchen, and my husband came up and asked Eric to go and apologize to his daughter. He said he wouldn't, and I told my husband that he wouldn't make my son apologize to his daughter for his feelings. He's not entitled to consider his daughter a sister. He tried to argue, but I told Eric not to apologize. Finally, he went over to the door where this woman and her daughter were waiting, and he told her that Eric didn't want to apologize. She went off on him and told him he was making their daughter feel like she was less than my kids. Then she left. Now my husband is blaming me for not making things easy for him. He said his daughter's a little girl too, and what our son said hurt her feelings. Am I the idiot for not making my son apologize? Edit. She knew he was married. Oh boy, he knew he was married. Obviously. You are the idiot, OP, and all the adults are idiots here. I can't believe that 3 adults can be so stupid and selfish when it comes to kids. The only reason those kids don't even try to get along is that they have crappy parents. You haven't forgiven your husband. You tolerate him because you don't want to be alone. You're honest about not liking the woman, and you punish the child by not treating her nicely. The child is not to blame, and you should be encouraging a relationship between your children and your stepdaughter like a good human. Your husband sucks too. All 3 kids are going to be emotionally scarred due to the adults being too petty to do what's right for the kids. Yep, your husband is guilty because he was the one who was married to you. He was the one who betrayed you. But the only one who still gets your wrath is a child and the other woman. You say you forgave him, but it doesn't make sense. You're still bitter. Divorce his butt and be done with it. Go your own way, but don't drag the kid into grown people's business. Her mom is poisoning her against my kids and me. She then proceeds to allow her son to say the meanest possible crap to said child with no repercussions. Are you self-aware at all? You shouldn't have stayed. You're punishing an innocent child because your husband couldn't keep it in his pants, and you hate her existence. Whether you like it or not, she is your children's sister, and you, as the adult whose job it is to bring up your children, you need to teach them how to be good people, and while you may not be consciously aware of it, you're failing in that task. And maybe stop having her over. She shouldn't have to be in an environment where she's treated badly. So I, 22 male, went to visit my parents, 58 male, 55 female, this past Saturday. My parents love investigation discovery, and they were watching a case about this doctor who had a double life. He had 2 wives and 4 children without any of the wives knowing, and he had apparently divorced his first wife to marry the second without the first wife knowing. I hate cheaters, homewreckers, deadbeats, etc. So I usually make comments while watching TV. Say a doctor got hit by a car and died. So I said, the garbage deserved what he got with his death. Nothing of value was lost. Thus my dad looked at me and said, that means you'd hate me if I happen to have children you don't know about. And I replied, of course. If you happen to have more children that I don't know about, you're dead to me. And I wouldn't cut you off because you cheated, because you're vile enough to deny and hide a child. You would be a garbage I'd want nothing to do with. So that was pretty much it. He laughed, my mom laughed, my brothers, teen and 25, laughed, and we had dinner and I left. I wasn't calling him trash. That conversation was one of those what ifs. When I got home, I got a message from my dad saying he was disappointed that my love was so conditional and that I shouldn't have disrespected him with such statements. I explained it was just a what if and hung up. I tried calling him, but he's refusing to talk to me. My mom and my little brother said my comment was a little bit mean and that I should apologize. My older brother thinks there's nothing to apologize for, since this was just a hypothetical scenario. And to be honest, I'd do it. My boyfriend, 32, has a child, kindergartner, whose mom ran away. I see the little boy crying every time his mom is supposed to pick him up, and she doesn't. So that breaks my heart. So denying a child or hiding them to keep appearances is a crime. My sister, 24, is more neutral about all of this. She says she wouldn't care if my dad had a child, but would understand if I cut him off. Not the idiot. Your dad's ego is so fragile, he's throwing a tantrum over the fact that people would, hypothetically, be upset at him for hiding a double life from his family? If he doesn't want to know the answer to these kind of questions, he really shouldn't ask them. No apology is necessary. However, something tells me it's not hypothetical to the dad. Yep, it could be that the dad had a kid with someone before he married OP's mom, or maybe he did cheat on mom. Who knows? Definitely talk to your dad to find out where this is coming from. The walk away to start fresh happened with my grandfather, but it was so much more complicated than it seemed. I found out about this uncle when I was in my 20s. It was shocking, and I was mad, but then I heard the whole story and was just sad for my grandfather. It might not be a reach. You have no idea how common this is. I didn't either, till I found out that my dad is not my dad. Ancestry.com has a whole thing with surprise family members. Yeah, I think he could have a kid when he was younger and maybe put it up for adoption. However, I feel like you have a lot to learn and some maturing to do. You're allowed to have a strong conviction in your values and to choose to keep a circle around you that shares your conviction, especially when it comes to honesty and the welfare of children. However, your expression of your conviction needs finessing, or be warned that your circle may close quite quickly, considering that others may value a more amicable temperament. I don't think Dad necessarily has a secret kid out here, as others are saying. I think Dad is hurt to learn that the interpersonal relationship between him and OP could be thrown away over a hypothetical sin in his past, that he couldn't be forgiven, even if he had grown and changed, that it would instantly outweigh 22 years of lived relationship, seemingly without any inner conflict or second thought. OP just showed that he only wants a sinless person as a dad. He has no room for any other kind, and Dad knows he isn't that person, because no one is. I went to a trendy restaurant tonight with 3 other people. It was very busy, and we waited like 30 minutes for this table. We sat indoors, and the back wall seating was one big long bench seat. All along it were tables of 4. We got sat next to a full table of 4. The guy on the bench seat near us had what appeared to be a service dog on the seat. I squeezed in and it was a tight fit. So I asked the guy if he could keep his dog on the ground. Like the dog's tail was literally on me. He told me no, and that he needed his dog close to him. I'm getting incredibly frustrated. I'm uncomfortable. This guy's doing nothing about his service dog literally on me. I ask him to get the dog off the seat. He tells me no again. His dog has rights, and he doesn't need to listen to me. I flip out about needing my space and the dog not needing to be on the seat. The guy calls me an idiot, among other things. I go ahead and just leave. I had made a mini scene and just removed myself from that situation. My friends met me outside and weren't happy with how everything went down. Was I an idiot to this guy? Edit. Friends didn't want to switch places with me. They didn't want to? That speaks volumes. They give you crap for not wanting to sit there, yet none of them wanted to either. Then definitely not the idiot. They wouldn't put up with it. Why should you? Geez, there are so many fake service dogs out there. As a service dog handler, the dog should not have been on the seats, unless actively tasking at that moment. If you're in the US, the ADA even has a section about this and states that seating, food, and drink are provided for the customer use only, and that restaurants are not required to allow service animals to sit at or be fed from a table. Agree, that was not a true service dog, most likely. They are trained to lay under the table, out of the way. The dog did not need to be on a bench and was disgusting. Next time, call a manager to handle the issue. Tell the manager they'll be reported to the health department if the dog is continued to be allowed to be on the chairs. Gonna get really unpopular with this take, but it needs to be said. If your disability requires you to have your service animal sitting on other people in order to get out, you're too inhibited to be in public. At what point does one person's needs not override everyone else's needs? I've often wondered about this from the lens of people with allergies being forced to be around service animals. I'm all for closer parking spots, elevators, ramps, bigger restroom stalls, etc. But animals are still animals, even service animals. They shouldn't be banned, but for goodness sake, they need to be on the floor away from other people. We don't live together for now. My choice due to space and finances and logistics. My boyfriend has 50-50 custody of his two sons, twins, nearly adult. They are very nice kids. I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years and his sons are great. My boyfriend can really be irresponsible with money sometimes. In September, he went back to school for his master's, and in doing so, had to give up a pretty lucrative job. He's been living off of savings, which is now run out because he can't budget and has an expensive lifestyle. Example, he doesn't cook or even make a sandwich, so they only eat via DoorDash. He's been looking for another job he can do while he goes to school, but he hasn't found one. For months I've asked him to please budget to conserve his money and to ask his sister for a loan, and he keeps saying he will but hasn't. Since his savings ran out, he's borrowed a bit of money from his aunt, but certainly not enough, so I've been helping him reluctantly. I don't make that much money, and I always stick to a budget, and this is really causing me stress. So to the issue. I put some money on my credit card and told him he could use it to eat and get to school, but that's all I have, and to please be careful with it, and to figure out a plan B. His sister can loan him money, he just hasn't bothered to ask her. For the past 6 weeks, on many occasions, when his boys are staying with him, every other week, he's ordered them DoorDash. This triples how much it cost, and it's eating up the money very quickly. His ex-wife, the boy's mom, comes from money, a lot of money. She lives in a house worth several million, and she has expensive cars. The boys each got a nice car for their 16th birthday. They have a trust fund worth $500,000 each that'll kick in when they're 25. And they'll also have their college completely paid for. Neither has a part-time job, so neither of them has a cent to their names for now. So for the past 6 weeks, I've been pleading with him to have the boys talk to their mom, to explain that while they stay with their dad, he has no money or job right now, and he doesn't have a credit card, so they can't eat unless his poor broke girlfriend pays for it, and to ask A, if they can use her credit card, or B, if she can give them a loan that they can use for food, even to buy themselves groceries and cook something. Then I'll only have to pay for my boyfriend to eat, which is still difficult for me. He claims they asked, and she said nope. Their mom is a nice person, and usually pretty responsible, so I find it bizarre that she'd actually say flat out no, so I suspect something's being lost in translation. I've asked my boyfriend to speak to her, and he won't. So this week, I canceled my credit card, requested a new one with a new number, and when my boyfriend needs something, I'll order it for him myself, but I've been refusing to buy the boys food. Am I the idiot? Edit. I know he's behind on rent, but he also knows I can't help him, so he doesn't ask. But I suspect he took a high-interest loan to pay some of it, and probably his mom gave him some as well. Not the idiot. It's completely reasonable for this nice woman to say no to giving any more money to this money pit of a man, and you should do the same. His priorities are a wreck. He's got 2 kids to support, yet he quit his job? Ridiculous. And you're enabling him with every penny you give him. He's got a whole family of women giving him money. You, his ex, his sister, mom, and aunt. You all need to stop. It's time for him to grow up. Wow, this dude is a professional parasite at this point. It's borderline impressive. That's 5 women giving this dude money. I really suggest you thank your lucky stars that you don't live with this man and take the opportunity to get away from him. He's a leech. Why did you give your boyfriend, who you know is bad at managing money, access? And he is at least a 40-year-old man who cannot make a sandwich? Seriously, just dump this jerk. You're not the idiot for being unable to afford luxuries like takeout for your boyfriend's kids, but you are an idiot to yourself for putting up with this man's nonsense. For goodness sake, stop enabling your boyfriend. Get him a loaf of bread and a massive jar of peanut butter. Then the boys can stay with their mom until he, boyfriend, grows up. My sister, Jessica, is irresponsible with money. She tries to live beyond her means and expects someone else to bail her out. This behavior has remained the same since having my niece, Valentina, Tina, and Jessica has, in fact, been even less responsible with her spending. Jessica has been behind on her rent for months. She's treated it like a joke, constantly going to the mall and taking Tina on an expensive spring break vacation. Finally, Jessica's landlord told her that she had one last chance to pay back her rent within the next 2 months, or else he'd be forced to evict her. Some backgrounds on my family is that they all live in a very large house. 2 stories, 7 bedrooms, and a large yard. Family members built it generations ago, so my family pays practically nothing in taxes, but they're not well off. Their collective income is so low that they qualify and rely on services, such as the food bank. For this reason, they're unable to help Jessica pay her back rent. My family hopes I will help because if Jessica and Tina move into my family's house, Tina will be forced to transfer to a bad school district. Tina's current school will allow her to finish the year, but after that she's expected to transfer and begin middle school at a different school district. Jessica is begging me to help her with her rent because she doesn't want Tina to leave all her friends behind. She's also very worried because the school district within our family's address is known for being a bad one. This district has had many issues, such as drugs, since we attended as students. The amount Jessica needs would be a lot for me. It would still be possible for me to give it, but I refused. I told Jessica this was on her. She chose to live beyond her means and treat her rent issues like a joke. I'm not responsible for her choices. She chose to have a child. My love for Tina doesn't make her my responsibility. It'll be hard for Tina, but middle school is still easier to adapt to a new school, and friend groups constantly change during that age anyway. I also reminded Jessica that despite the issues at this school district, we didn't get involved in any of those bad activities because we were taught not to give in to peer pressure. Tina's a smart girl, and I'm sure she'll be fine. My family's told me that they're disappointed in Jessica, but are disappointed in me as well. And they said that Jessica was irresponsible, but that they had hoped I'd put my niece's well-being first. I still feel like this situation is entirely of Jessica's making, and she has the sole responsibility for it. Besides, it's not as if Jessica or Tina will be homeless. They'll be able to stay at the family house. Tina will still have access to an education, even if it's not as good as the one offered by a previous school district. Am I the idiot for refusing to help with Jessica's rent? Not the idiot. Your sister had the money, she just spent it. The bad outcome here is not so bad. She'll still have housing and a functional, if not preferred, school. It's a hard lesson, but she needs to learn it. And if OP bails her out, it reinforces that she can just continue to live the way she does, Because give an inch, they take a mile. Big nope, not the idiot. You are not a bank. If your sister wouldn't pay back her landlord, who I assume she has a legal contract with, why should anyone expect her to pay you back when she already feels entitled to favors from you? You'd be enabling your sister's irresponsible behavior by bailing her out. And I agree the conduct would not improve. Stand your ground, OP. Any disappointment in you is misplaced. This isn't your problem to solve.